Hell yeah. Awesome. Hi, Smokey.
Oh, see, she's hiding now that she's on camera.
No, it's cute.
What kind of bird is that?
She's a cockatiel, which is one of the smallest species of parrots.
It's very cute. Very cute. Smoky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can
she's
be a pirate.
Yeah, she's honestly very chill, very mellow. Really doesn't make a whole lot of noise. She's I don't know. Got pretty lucky with her. She's not the type of bird that will start screaming at 6 a.m. and wake you up. She's actually very respectful. Waits until I'm awake and out of bed to start making noise. She's great.
Lilith, no pets on that end? Well, maybe you have pets, but they're not here with us at the moment.
Well, yeah, I'm traveling right now.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah, Smokey is our bird.
The traveling bird.
And we also have a snake, a albino lavender corn snake named Snowflake.
Snowflake. That's a very cute name for a snake.
Yeah, we like I don't know, the elements. We've got Smokey and Snowflake.
I would bring Snowflake out to see you, but she is not chill. She is insane, and every time we take her out of the tank, she goes crazy and just wants to explore. So I would be wrestling her the entire time.
All right, fair enough. Now I set this up in my basement. Every once in a while, I'll have some mice run around back here, but they usually do not get on the show.
All right.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah. In fact, I used to have it was like a prop from a movie, and it was up here. And one time I came down here, and I noticed the bag was still there, but there was a little bit of crumbs, and something got into it and ate what was ever in the bag out, which was very strange. But, so no more edible stuff down here.
Mm-hmm.
So Sorrowseed, for people who aren't aware, of course they'd be aware, but can you give them an idea of what your music is like? Which is a weird question, I think, to ask.
Yeah, that's always the hard one.
Yeah.
If we're trying to not have like 17 words in this description of a subgenre label, I generally call it somewhere between like melodic death metal and blackened death metal. Like people have compared us to like Behemoth, but with a little bit more kind of like melodic and gothic flavor.
It's sort of like movies. It's horror movies, and people are fighting over like what genre or something. It's always annoying to me. It's like, if you like it, you like it. That doesn't matter if it's
same. I feel the same way, man. Like there's just so many different little fucking subgenres now, and people can be so nitpicky about it. And I'm just like, it's fucking heavy metal, okay?
If it's death metal or black, like, do you like it more or less? If it's not considered, this, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Some, the metal community in general has a reputation of being fairly elitist, which sucks because it's like, okay, we're already kind of like a cross section of humanity that is like sort of considered more on like the outside perimeter. We're all sort of like misfits and stuff. Like, why do you have to just try to go and like, be cliquey within such a small kind of subgenre anyway? So it can be really annoying, but yeah. So what he said, usually we're kind of like melodic death metal, simply put, but we have elements of doom, black, prog, and a little bit of goth flavor, I guess you could say too.
Now you mentioned you're traveling right now, so you guys are out on the West Coast now, but I saw you had a show recently in New England.
Yeah. So we just last weekend we were up in New England for the Livestock Camping Festival, which was a whole lot of fun. It's sort of a long-running festival done by our friend Justin, and that was a super fun time. Even though typical New England kind of weather kicked in, and it was pretty rainy and cold and stuff, but we're hardy people, New Englanders, obviously, so that didn't stop a bunch of people from coming out and having a great fucking time with us. So that was awesome. I'm still out in Boston at the moment, and Kadin and the other guys are back in Vegas right now.
I'm on the Cape, so I'm on the.
Oh, nice. Yeah. What part?
a little town called Sandwich. I don't know if you know where that is.
Okay, yeah, of course I know Sandwich.
All right. Yeah,
Nice.
usually I just say the Cape because usually, unless you're from the area, people are like, what the hell is that? Is that something you made up or something?
Oh no, we're familiar. In fact, one of the SORROWSEED music videos was filmed in Yarmouth,
Oh,
partially.
really?
Yeah, the video for Ocean Scorn. So I kind of had the concept for this video. This was I don't know, probably about 7 or 8 years ago now that we did this video. But at the time, I'd been traveling. I love to travel abroad, and I have this obsession with black sand beaches. So I found a couple out in Iceland, and I filmed some footage. And I was like, I really want to use this for a music video at some point. And then years later, when we started thinking about what song we could do for a music video, I was like, oh, if we do Ocean Scorn, I have some footage I could use for this. And then I had the idea of sort of juxtaposing it with sort of like close to like sort of a white sand beach sort of thing. And I'm wearing this like white dress in it, looking all like, haunting sea witch kind of vibes. And so yeah, we juxtaposed those two kind of extremes together, and turned out pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's on YouTube. Check it out, guys.
Yeah. So, is there a difference between the West Coast and East Coast, audiences when you're performing in front of them?
Well, I mean, yes and no. When you're performing in front of them, like in the moment, I wouldn't necessarily say there's a huge difference. I do think that in general, my experience has been that West Coast crowds are a little more open to, just like bands that they haven't heard before, whereas a lot of East Coast crowds tend to kind of have this thing where, like, if they're seeing a band they've never heard of before, it's like, all right, impress me,
Yeah, very standoffish.
And West Coast crowds are, I think, a little more ready to just sort of enjoy the music that's in front of them, without like kind of thinking too hard about it. But unfortunately, it's the scenes themselves are very different, and I think in general the scenes on the East Coast are kind of stronger and tighter knit, if for no other reason than the fact that like the cities are way closer together. Like out in California, you have to drive 2 hours to get from, one major place to another. And so like it's a lot of really kind of disconnected and small scenes that are kind of just in their own little bubble. Whereas on the East Coast, there's a lot more overlap and a lot more people that are willing to like kind of, go outside of their own little local area to go see shows and that sort of thing.
What was the decision to go to the West Coast?
I mean, it was sort of a kind of just like half quality of life, cost of living, and also just like sick of the fucking East Coast weather.
Yeah.
I can relate to that as I get older.
New England, it's like, Lilith mentioned the livestock festival that we played just this past weekend. It was like classic New England bullshit. 3 days, in 3 days in a row before the festival, it was like 90 degrees. And then the day before the weekend started, it dropped 30 degrees and it was fucking rainy and cold all weekend.
30 degrees. Like, let that simmer for a second. 30 degrees in one fucking day. Just in time for us to roll up in and play an outdoor festival. So, it sucks so bad because we put so much work into, our performances, and we've planned our own tours, during spring and fall and stuff like that. We're smart enough not to mess with winter, but stupid enough to try to mess with the spring and the fall, because you can spend weeks and months promoting shows, but if you get some fucking weather bullshit, some tropical storm rolls through, or it starts snowing in March or something, like, that's it. Like, no one's coming to that fucking show, and you're probably not getting paid either. So it's been real nice out on the West Coast not having to worry about any of that. There's almost, it hardly even rains. Like
Yeah, the
where we're
weather
at,
is way
so
more consistent out here.
it's almost never going to be a situation where a show is going to get canceled because it was rained out or it was snowed out or something. So that's been really nice.
Even if the weather is not necessarily super nice at the time, it's consistent and you usually know what it's going to do in advance, and it's not just going to like change 4 times a day. So that alone is nice.
Yeah, the last time I was out there, last 2 times it rained, and both times everyone out there, I was in LA, and they were just like, they went crazy because of the rain in LA.
Yeah.
I didn't.
People don't really know how to respond to it out there because it happens so infrequently, especially like LA gets a fair amount of rain, especially this time of year in the spring. But Vegas, for the most part, it rains like under 30 days a year. So it's pretty nice, I have to say. Like we just kind of forget about the fact that rain even exists a lot of the time. So coming back here, it's like, oh fuck, it's been I've been here for a week now, and it's rained and been cold and shitty and just gross like almost every day since I've been back, and I'm just like pretty over it.
Yeah. And it's something funny too. Because I think most people just assume Boston's like open all night because it's a big city, but
Oh God,
there's like nothing open like at all at night.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like one of the first times that I came to Boston, like I had only been there a few times at that point. I got off the bus at South Station at like 8:30 p.m. on a Saturday night, and it took me 45 minutes to find a single open restaurant that I could get some food at in the middle of downtown Boston at 9 p.m. on a Saturday.
Yeah.
It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'm up in Boston almost every weekend, and after like there'll be a handful of things open, but really after like 11 or 12, there's like nothing open besides like IHOP. I think is the only thing.
Yeah. I mean, even last call in some places in Boston is like 12:30, and the T stops running.
Yeah, I mentioned this
that.
before. It almost encourages like drunk driving or something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I've been saying for years. It's like, okay, well, especially you could at least run it later on the weekends. Like, but you're just totally encouraging people to drive drunk by not giving the option. So, yeah, I don't know. Boston, I've never been super into Boston as a city or just a place to live. We lived in Providence for a while, and Providence was awesome. Like if I were to come back,
stuff's open way later in Providence. There's a lot of stuff going on.
There's they've got like Insomnia cookies and like sub shops open till like 4 a.m. We had like a little bodega around the corner from where we were at. We were just on Federal Hill. It was super nice, and everyone there is so chill, like so much more friendly and sort of tight knit than Bostonians. So we had a really good time when we were residing in Providence. So if we were ever to come back, like I would want to go back to like somewhere in Rhode Island. Rhode Island's great. So Boston, pretty overrated.
Yeah, we just my brother and I. There's I forget the name of it now. I wish I could remember it, but there's a new arcade there that opened in Providence recently, and the place is wild. They're not paying me anything, but $7 to get in, and then you can play all the old video games and pinball you want, all to like 2 or something. And
Dude,
then
that's cool.
Wow, we're gonna have to seek this place out.
Yeah,
so
it's a really
I'll have
cool
to
place.
grab the name of that place for you afterwards at some point. That's awesome.
I highly recommend. I'm a big pinball guy, so I play a lot of pinball, so it was very fun.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah, we as a band we've played at MagFest a couple of times, and it's this big nerdy gaming festival with music and like 8-bit DJs and stuff like that, and they've got this 24/7 open arcade with all these free to play games, and their pinball selection is like pretty impressive. So we love all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that sounds.
Have you ever been out here to Vegas?
Not since I was. It was like over 20 years ago. I was just say it was when I was 24, but people won't know how long ago it was. But yeah, it was a long time ago.
Well, because out here in Vegas we have the Pinball Hall of Fame.
I did not know that actually.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a really cool place. It's just a huge building, and it's got this massive selection. I think there's like 200 cabinets in there, just like massive selection of pinball games from, like as far back as you can imagine. They've got games from like the 40s and 50s, like all the way up to like the really modern ones with all kinds
Yeah,
of
because
crazy
they
effects and
make new
moving
ones too.
pieces.
Because they had like the new Godzilla one and stuff.
Yep.
So it was cool. They had them separated. They had the newer ones at one place, and then like the classic ones in another place. And I guess they cycle them in and out.
Nice. Yeah.
But yeah, so that's cool. So
Yeah, if you ever get the chance, Pinball Hall of Fame is pretty sick. They've got some really, really old cabinets there, and
Yeah, it's a
cool
fun place to visit.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would definitely do that. So, what are some of your favorite venues to perform at?
Well, speaking of Providence, our favorite place in New England to play is Dusk, like hands down. We always have a great time there, good vibes. Dusk is one of the only venues that we've sort of done business with that, you know, the people who are there are straight shooters. There's no bullshit. Like we always, you know, it's always a very positive experience. There's nothing shady or weird about it because, you know, some of the spots in Providence and some of the promoters down there can be a little wishy-washy. I mean, I think that's probably true in most cities, but yeah, so we love Dusk. We love the vibes there. It's like nice little intimate venue. We also love playing at Ralph's in Worcester. So Ralph's is probably like our second favorite venue in New England. And I don't know. As far as Vegas, we've played this place called Dive Bar a whole bunch. That was the first place we ever played on our one of our first tours, like way back when. And I don't know, it was like 2016 or something like that. And so we've got a little bit of a soft spot for Dive Bar. But another spot out in Vegas we really like is called Artifice. It's a little bit similar to Dusk vibes. It's got that like kind of gothic decor with the dark, you know, black chandeliers and the cool artwork and stuff like that. So
There's also Backstage out here in Vegas, Backstage Bar and Billiards.
mhm.
That was the venue where the Apocalypse in the Desert Festival, which was at the end of this past March, took place. We played that festival, and that's a super cool venue. That one is it's a little bit bigger. It's sort of like a mid-level venue, you know, bands that are like, you know, well known and draw a crowd, but are not necessarily going to fill out like a giant theater or a stadium. You know, like Warbringer has played there, Allegiant has played there. You know, kind of like mid-level bands.
1349 was there too.
Yeah, so it's a really cool venue for like you know, slightly bigger acts that are not like huge. We're probably not quite big enough to like, you know, headline a show there ourselves, but we got to play the festival that was there, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and another spot coming to mind, a couple of spots coming to mind. Brass Mug in Tampa. Love that venue. Shout outs to the Brass Mug. They have a amazing stage lighting setup. The staff is super cool, very friendly, and the metalheads down in Tampa are pretty legit. And also another spot that we liked a whole lot over in Portland was called the Lovecraft.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was almost like sort of, I guess, their version of something like Dusk, only much more elaborate. Like,
Yeah.
dude had a fucking coffin in the green room and all kinds of just sort of like Lovecraftian references and
Lovecraft in Portland, Oregon is like the most bougie boutique dive bar you'll ever see in your life. It's really fucking cool. It's got the soul of a dive bar, but it's really ornate, and it's got like you know, horror movie masks and memorabilia all over the walls. There's like
pentagrams,
sigils
like,
and shit
you know,
painted
all
on
over
the
the
ceilings.
walls.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking cool. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've seen some reference to Lovecraft in some of your music, so I assume that's something you guys are into.
Yep. So that was like totally on our vibe. We love that spot. That was a good time. Also on the same tour that we or was that the same one we played at the dive? Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
right? Same
And
tour.
also at Brass Mug.
Yeah.
I also got a shout out on the note of venues. I got to shout out Lucky 13 in Brooklyn. New York City is where I'm from. I was born and raised in Queens, and I've played at Lucky 13 like dozens of times with both SORROWSEED and my other band, and that place is always super solid. Just, you know, classic metal dive bar with a stage in the back. You know, not a huge venue, but always good vibes. We always have a great time at Lucky's. We played there back in March as part of our like late winter tour.
So you're from I was gonna say you're from New York. So how did the band get together? How did you form?
Yeah, so that is it's actually a very kind of interesting and serendipitous story, which was basically that when I was in college, the first metal band that I was ever in, I joined this band and I was in it from for a couple of years, and so basically with this band I ended up playing a show at this little, honestly kind of shitty bar in Astoria, which is the neighborhood in Queens that I'm born and raised in, called Gussie's. I ended up playing a show with this band, the first metal band I was ever in, and on this bill was a band called SORROWSEED, which I'd never heard of, and another band called Spectral Voices, which was a local New York City band that I had heard of and that I already really liked. So my band played a show with both of these bands. I did watch SORROWSEED's set that night, but I didn't end up talking to any of them afterwards. They were on tour at the time. But I did end up talking to the guys in Spectral Voices, who was the New York City band, a local band. And so fast forward a couple of years, I actually ended up joining Spectral Voices. I'm still in that band now. We did change our name a few years ago, so we're called Solemn Vision now. But I ended up joining this band after having played this show sort of randomly with them. And then after I'd been in Solemn Vision for maybe like 2 years or 3 years, a friend of ours who was a promoter hit us up and said, hey, this band SORROWSEED from Boston is coming on tour. They're going to come through New York. I think you guys played with them a few years ago. Do you want to hop on this show that I'm putting together for them? And we said, absolutely. SORROWSEED was fucking sick. Let's do it. And so I ended up playing with SORROWSEED again as part of a different band this time. And that night, me and the other guys in Solemn Vision ended up talking to Lilith and some of the guys who were in SORROWSEED at the time. And we all just kind of hit it off and became friends pretty quickly. And so we stayed in touch and we're hanging out a whole bunch. And then eventually SORROWSEED decided they wanted to go on tour. This was in 2017 and hit us up about going on tour with them. So we started to get this whole thing in motion. And what ended up happening is kind of right before this tour, or it was like 2 months for some of them and then like 3 weeks for others. Like a bunch of the members of SORROWSEED, former members of SORROWSEED now, quit like shortly before this tour was supposed to happen, which was really screwing us.
They all basically decided that they didn't want to be in a touring band at that point. They were like, for whatever reasons, some of them were too busy, some of them just didn't like touring, so they basically were going to like leave me high and dry.
Yeah, it was Lilith and it was Morte, who used to be in the band, who was one of the founding members. Those two were the only ones left. And so basically what we ended up doing in order to not cancel the tour was me and Anthony and Carlos, who are the bassist and drummer for my other band, Solemn Vision. We basically learned the entire SORROWSEED set and we did double duty for that entire tour. So 3 of us from Solemn Vision played as members of SORROWSEED for every single date on that tour. And eventually, when I ended up moving out of New York and moving up to Boston, it was like it just sort of made sense for me to join SORROWSEED full time as well, because I already knew how to play all the music and there were openings in the band's lineup that needed to be filled. So it's just sort of an interesting series of events where like the very first metal band I was ever in ended up playing a show with both of the bands that I would later go on to join years in the future.
Yeah. So needless to say, like we're all pretty tight. We've definitely put together more shows together periodically, and we're hoping to plan another tour again sometime soon, possibly later this year.
Who writes the music and who writes the lyrics? Or I don't know, maybe the same person.
Well, yeah. So the thing is, pretty much all of the music that is out there on the internet for people to hear from SORROWSEED. Smokey just pooped on me. That's cool.
I believe it's our first live pooping on the show. At least as far as I know. I don't know.
Part of the realities of having a pet bird. That's crazy.
I could take over for a second. So Morte wrote the first 3 albums worth of stuff, and he had actually approached me as the singer. The band had already formed, so SORROWSEED was looking for a singer at the time. And so when I joined the band, the first 2 albums were already like completely written, which was kind of a cool sort of shortcut for me, because it was like, hey, these songs are ready to go. We just need a vocalist. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And so that's exactly what we did. I jumped in, started recording right away. And shortly thereafter, we started playing shows. And then the third album, which is called Nemesis Engine, had room for contributions on it. So I wrote the lyrics for 2 of those songs, and Kadin wrote some solos on some of those songs. But when Morte was in the band, he really preferred to have most of the creative control, because it was his project to begin with. It was kind of his baby. So we were all like cool with that. But now that we have a new lineup, it's we're all going to be contributing in for the new stuff.
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting circumstance we're in right now, because pretty much all the music that's available for people to listen to by SORROWSEED, that was all written by Morte, who's no longer in the band. So it's a little bit strange, because, you know, the music that we play at shows is all stuff that, like, largely speaking, we didn't write, you know? And we've kind of, since it's really just, you know, just me and Lilith, it's been just me and Lilith for a long time, and we're only recently starting to, like, you know, jam with some new people to fill out the lineup. So, you know, given that I am the only instrumentalist in the band and have been for a while, it's pretty much kind of just me who's been writing new music. But together, Lilith and I have been sort of just trying to decide like what direction we really want to take the sound in now, because like Lilith said before, previously Morte was sort of the one who just wrote all the music because it was kind of his, you know, his creative project. But now that he's no longer in the band and he is, you know, given us his permission to like continue on and do whatever we want with it, we sort of have the freedom to take it wherever we want to. So we've kind of been trying to figure out exactly what direction we want to take the band musically at this point.
We do have a new keyboardist though, and he's already added some really, really cool like gothic sounding stuff to it. So I think we're probably going to continue to go a little bit more in a like melodic symphonic sort of direction. It's been really, really fun working with him. We haven't quite made an announcement yet, but he did play the last festival in Vegas with us, and we're about to go on tour with him when we resume the rest of our tour dates starting next week. And he has sort of scouted out a drummer and another guitar player for us. So once we're done with the upcoming tour dates, we're going to start jamming with these guys, and we're pretty excited about it.
That's pretty cool. So, you know, the sound you guys are talking about, you know, you guys are get together, what kind of sound, but what kind of like when you're writing, if you're going to write new lyrics, like, what kind of stuff would you draw from? Because I mentioned earlier, like, there's some Lovecraft stuff in there. There's, like, some D&D stuff, like liches and stuff. So I don't know. What kind of, like, themes would you go for?
Yeah, so we have, when I've done writing for other projects on my own, I do sometimes pull kind of, like, nerdy kind of stuff like that.
I'm for it. Yeah, I'm an old school Dungeons & Dragons kid.
I played EverQuest for a really long time, so I have some lyrical themes that sort of draw from some EverQuest references. That's kind of the nerdy side, but I also just like to draw from kind of like, you know, the dark and morbid side as well. Like I have to kind of stop myself from just writing complete gore like a lot, because I'm just like, okay, I could be, especially with the kind of lyrical content that Morte brought to the band, it would be super weird to go from that sort of like eloquent style of fantasy writing into just like, I'm gonna murder your face. Right. I'm gonna stab you a whole bunch of times. So, but that's always, I've always written very, you know, aggressive kind of music. So I'm sort of trying to find a balance between you know, aggressive and poetic.
Yeah, Morte's lyrics were very poetic and very verbose, you know, a lot of, you know, he had a really big desire to like tell stories with the songs he was writing, you know. All 3 of the albums that we have out there, to listen to, those are the ones that he wrote, and they're all concept albums. Every single one of them has a story to tell. So he was really big on like, using the lyrics to tell a story.
Yeah, he had like a central character on each album. And so I've sort of thought about having a central character just to kind of keep with the theme. But I'm not really sure like what I want the character to be yet. So sort of just fleshing out what I or we want that to be. I'm really kind of looking forward to having it be more of a group process and have everybody can have some input because obviously like playing somebody else's music all the time, like it takes away a certain creative aspect to it. And I think that's why in the past we had a lot of kind of people come and go from the band because they would join and be cool with it because we were playing shows and we had recorded albums and stuff, but then they would get kind of like unhappy when they weren't really able to contribute like too much. So
John Kelly, I have to ask, is that I'm not sure what this is, Umbrian onesie?
It is. It is. I didn't think anyone was going to recognize that, but yep, sure is.
I don't know what Umbrian is. I feel like
it's like one of the dark Pokemon.
Oh, okay. I'm a kind of a nerdy guy, but I've never played. I'm not against it. I'm probably just too old when it came.
You hang out with Lilith for long enough, and you'll eventually discover that about 40% of her wardrobe is onesies.
Yeah. Oh well, no, the ones I'm cool with the onesie. I do like that it's you're talking about writing about murdering your face and also wearing a Pokemon onesie. I like the contrast. Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So you mentioned touring, and you do have another tour coming up. Oh, you guys, the Kings of Metal West Coast tour.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's later this month. Super excited to we have played in the Bay Area before, but it's been many years. So I don't think we've ever played in either of the cities that we're hitting in California this time. So that's going to be really exciting. We did get the attention of someone who runs a booking agency as well, who is perhaps going to be attending one of those shows as well. So we're kind of like, cautiously optimistic about this potential partnership because I think it'll help elevate us a little bit more. We're really tired of booking our own tours. We've done it DIY pretty much up until this point because I don't know, there is something gratifying about doing it all yourself and putting it together, and it can be fun, but there's just so many variables. And when you put together a show on your own, like all the pieces kind of have to be there. And if like things happen, like, oh, suddenly the venue got changed or one of the locals dropped off or something, like you're kind of screwed for that show. But when you have a booking agent, like most likely they're going to only be booking from places that are like solid and with other groups that are solid. So we're ready to kind of,
everyone only has so much energy and stuff. So if you could focus out on your actual music and everything, that's just one less thing you'd have to,
Exactly. We're musicians. We're not booking agents. One of my least favorite things is like negotiating, with these venues, like our guarantees and our riders and stuff like that, expectations. Like, I don't want to be that person. Like, I just want to like come and fucking perform and play music and like bring the vibe and the energy to people. I don't like the business side of things too much. And I think in the past we were also kind of just trying to be a little bit frugal with it to save some money.
Right.
When you book your own shows, you're not having to pay anybody to book the show for you and stuff like that. But I think we're at the point now where we've done it enough times. We're done with that. We want to, we're happy to pay somebody a cut of whatever, because they're probably going to make sure that we get higher guarantees anyway. So.
Yeah, because it only benefits them too. So.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to hopefully sort of crossing that bridge pretty soon. And you're a Pokemon nerd. Nice
dude. Yeah.
Who are your favorites?
I grew up playing Pokemon. I think Pokemon Yellow version was probably, if not the first, certainly one of the first video games I ever played at like age 6. Yeah, doing the whole DIY tour booking thing fucking sucks, man. It's so much work. And like if you're just doing a little kind of like weekend run where you're playing like 3 or 4 shows, it's like that's manageable. But if you ever want to tour at like a real professional level, like you can't do it DIY. It's way too much work when you're trying to manage, being an active member of the band and like all this other stuff. It's an incredible amount of work.
Yeah. Plus, you got to clean up bird poop off your shoulders.
Dude, so much bird poop. They poop so much.
Do you have any good road stories actually while you're traveling? Not so much flying, I guess. There's not too much road stories in flying, but
road stories.
Well, immediately the first one that comes to mind for me that's
or bad road stories, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
a lot of them sit somewhere in between, to be honest, because tour life is tour life is you go back and forth between like it's awesome, God, it fucking sucks, I'm so tired all the time, I can't wait to go home, and then you play and it's like this is so sick, like I wish I could do this forever.
Well,
and then you wake up the next morning and
if people are at the show,
sometimes you have duds and it's like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? This sucks. And then you play a sick show and it's like, this is the greatest thing ever. It's always back and forth. So the road stories frequently sit somewhere in between. The first one that came to mind for me was when we were on tour in 2017. This was when SORROWSEED and Solemn Vision were on tour together. We almost died in Florida because an alligator ran across the highway.
Okay.
And the enormous semi truck that was in front of us slammed its brakes because an alligator ran in front of it. And if it wasn't for Morte, who was driving the van at the time, who knows how that would have turned out, because he had fast reactions and he swerved us into the breakdown lane to avoid rear-ending this enormous truck. We certainly would have lost that collision battle. So that was cool. That happened.
That's not the word I would use to describe.
Yeah, no, it wasn't cool at all. It was fucking terrible. So that's the first thing that came to my mind for whatever reason.
I think this one isn't like road specific, but going back to talking about the Lovecraft from earlier, like that was definitely one of the most fun shows we've ever played, because so we played there on like a Friday or Saturday or something, and it was an early show. It was only from like 8 p.m. to 10:30 or something like that. It was just the two of our bands and one local opener, and it was so much fun because right after that, they opened up their goth night. They had their like goth industrial night directly after the live show. So obviously we were all welcome there, and we just had this like wild night. We all got super fucked up.
It also happened to fall on the night of Mauricio, who's the other guitar player in Solemn Vision. It was his birthday that night. So we were celebrating, and so many people came out for this goth night. It was fucking packed. And so that was, we just partied till they kicked everyone out.
Yeah, and we got into a whole bunch of trouble. I remember like Aaron, the singer in your band, who was single at the time, was like trying to hook up with this girl, and then I don't know, wasn't there like a gay dude trying to hook up with him too or something like that? And like I don't know, there was some kind of like
Morte was having quite a lot of fun with multiple guys that night.
Yeah.
He had a great time.
Yes. And we were just we ended up kind of like inadvertently started trashing the green room a little bit. We tried to clean it up afterwards, but
we were not trying to be like rock star divas. We were just having,
we
were having fun. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, we kind of made a mess. Let's fix this.
So we were respectful, but we made a lot of kind of friends that night, and
a lot of shenanigans.
Yeah, there was a lot of shenanigans. We were like goth. We were all on the floor like goth dancing at some point. It was so much fucking fun.
Yeah, good time.
Yeah.
I don't know about, because I'm not in the side of the music world, but are Or is it always accepting a female-led death metal band? Have you ever come to anybody who's like, that doesn't belong, or any problems with that?
No, I mean, like, I think it's becoming fairly common these days, actually. And the only kind of shit that I've had to deal with is just like getting hit on constantly. Like, I would beg the guys in the old lineup to come with me to the merch table afterwards because, they're all busy like loading out and stuff like that. I'm like, I will trade places with you happily. I will help you guys load out if one of you will go to the merch table, because like it was just super creepy. I get hit on by dudes, I get hit on by chicks, and I'm just like, I am not here for this at all. Like, I'm here to perform and like play fucking music. So I used to purposely dress really kind of agender. I wouldn't wear anything showing cleavage or anything like that. And I would do my makeup like really scary and fucked up looking, or maybe just have blood all over my face or something. Cause I'm like, I don't want to look sexy. I don't want you to be attracted to me. I'd rather you be scared of me and fucking leave me alone, So I would say that's probably one of the shittier parts about being a female in a band in general. Like, no matter if I'm the front woman or whatever. So, we haven't really been like had judgmental people or anything like that. It's just the vibe is cringy sometimes.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you ask, like, do you ever run into people who like don't accept it? It's really the opposite. Sometimes there are, guys who are too into it, just like,
right.
There's like a whole
female
kind of
middle.
Yeah, it's like this whole, there's
they
a
make
lot of
that just like that's the thing.
It's a whole genre on
it's
itself.
like there's a lot of dudes who are like, I'm really into female fronted metal, which like, nowadays I've taken to going like,
it's a weird thing to even say.
really
It's like it should be like I like the band because I like the band.
Yeah. I think it's honestly, I think it's pretty cringy when people say I love female fronted metal, because it's like that doesn't mean anything. If I ask you what does your band sound like and you say we're female fronted metal, that means absolutely nothing. Like, it doesn't tell me a single
it doesn't
thing.
mean it's good or bad. It just
I don't even know what it sounds like. You could sound like fucking Evanescence, or you could sound like Cannibal Corpse. I have no idea.
Right.
I only like music sung by bald guys.
Exactly. No, literally.
Yeah,
like nowadays, I've gotten to the point where if people, if people tell me, oh, I love female fronted metal, I go, oh, that's cool. I love male fronted metal. So I can watch their brains split in half as they realize like how dumb this conversation is.
Yeah, there's definitely this whole just sort of like cross section of, I don't know, maybe incel dudes. I don't really know, but
or just like mostly harmless but socially awkward.
Right, they might be meaning well.
Guys,
just,
they come out to all of these, no matter what the music sounds like. If there's a girl singer, they're there. That's their fucking jam.
Yeah. And that's not like a great. Say. Yeah, I'm just saying that's not like doesn't make you feel good either. If they just like everyone who happens to be a female singer.
Yeah, I'm just like that's why I'm like, listen to my voice. For a long time, I didn't even like singing like clean vocals because I didn't even want anyone focusing on the fact that there was a female voice at all. I'm just like, listen to my fucking like, my gutturals, and listen to the heavy music, and like, don't even think about the fact that I'm a female. Just like, but now I'm kind of like, I've sort of come around a little bit to the idea that like, yes, it's a marketable thing and it would be better. Like, I wouldn't say I play into it. Like, I don't like dress, like all fucking vamped up on stage. I mean, if people want to do that, cool. That's not my thing. I don't feel that I need to do that or want to do that. But I have come around to the idea of, like if somebody approaches us and they're like, hey, we're putting on this female fronted metal show or festival or tour, like it would be foolish to say no just because that's a missed opportunity. So, over time, we've become a little bit more open to at least not hating being lumped into that genre. But yeah,
also
would be genre.
All this is to say as well, if there's anybody listening to this who's a dude that like is like, I like female fronted metal, and you're feeling attacked by this conversation, like, it's okay. Like, I'm not saying that you're like automatically a creep for feeling that way.
Right,
Just
right.
don't be fucking weird about it. That's all. Like, don't be a fucking weirdo about it, and like, come up to the singer after the show and be like, yeah, it's so cool to see girls in metal, as if it's this like novel thing nowadays, because it's not. It's just like,
not.
and also, I don't know, maybe try to like just think about the music for
Yeah,
what
just
it
say,
is,
hey, I
rather
like
than
that.
who's
I
doing
like
it.
that song, or whatever.
Right,
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
think
why,
about maybe just listen to the music for what it is and try and think
yeah,
about that a little bit.
why bring gender into music? It's music. It's something you listen to. Like, gender shouldn't come into play, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I do understand that some people like female vocalists, like,
right. They
like
might
symphonic
just the
metal.
sound, the voice,
Yeah, sonically,
or
some
vice
people like
versa.
that.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean like that, because it's like, okay, if you like female fronted symphonic metal, that makes a lot of more sense to say, because a female voice sounds a certain way when singing that style of music. So like, I do know people that only listen to metal that have pretty female vocals on it, and like that's not really what we mean at all.
Yeah.
So like, I can respect that, but
But on the other side of this whole spectrum is like, one of my favorite death metal bands is another band originally from Boston called Abnormality. They're not together anymore. Their vocalist, when the band was together, she's a woman, and the first time I listened to them, I just assumed it was a man, because she's doing super deep guttural death metal vocals, and most people who were doing that style are
Right.
guys. So I assumed I was listening to a guy, and then I look up the band to find their music, and I see pictures of them. I'm like, oh, so like. It doesn't really matter unless it's a very specific sound, like you were talking about, like the female soprano
and that's just something
operatic
you prefer,
thing,
right? Yeah.
like unless it's a really specific sound, it doesn't fucking matter, man.
Yeah. This might be a dumb question, actually, since you brought up like the guttural voice. Does that ever hurt your vocal cords, your throat?
There are times when we're on tour where, if I'm doing it multiple days in a row, I do feel like a little bit of soreness sometimes, but that's kind of when you're on tour and you're doing something every single day, you're going to have some wear and tear no matter what part of your body you're engaging. Like, Carlos has had sort of like a little bit of tendonitis issues on tour. So, it's sort of like, your tour is going to fuck you up a little bit. No matter what you do. So there have been times like that, and there have been a couple times when I've been sick, where it actually, if you do gutturals when you're sick, like when you're hoarse, you can actually damage your vocal cords that way. So there's been a couple of times where I had to kind of step back and not really sing too much during the set. Luckily, the only time that happened on one of our major tours was at a show that was like not super well attended. So it was okay that I wasn't really on stage too much, and just sort of, I came on for a couple parts, and then it was mostly an instrumental set after that. So it is risky sometimes. And if you're doing it incorrectly, if you haven't kind of learned the right way to use your voice, you can fuck up your shit that way. But that's true of any type of singing. It's not necessarily more or less dangerous per se, to do harsh vocals, and in terms of getting injured anyway, because there's been plenty of operatic singers too, like that have had nodules form and had to get them surgically removed and stuff like that. So when your instrument
happens in all kind of genres. Adele has had like
Adele, yeah, I was
going to
mention,
because she was like belting her fucking head off when she was like 19 years old before she developed the right technique.
Right. I was going to bring up Adele. So when your body is when your body is your instrument, it gets complicated, because you really have to, if you're tired, malnutrition, dehydrated in any type of way, if you're partying too much, you can put your body in a more vulnerable state to be damaged or be injured. And so it's kind of, the only times I've ever felt like I went too hard have been times when it was kind of like, okay, I didn't get enough sleep that night. That night I partied too hard the night before, or like, oh, I feel cold coming on, and I went out and sang anyway. So yeah. That's kind of a unfortunate occupational hazard of the job. It's like if I were a guitar player or anything else, it wouldn't matter if I had the fucking flu or was like vomiting my brains out or something. I could still get up there and play. Just, keep a bucket nearby or something, right? But when you're a singer, you can't.
That's a new gimmick for the band.
Oh man, okay. You just reminded me of this. Isn't really a road story. It's just a show story. But I remember one time. This was still when I was with that band, the first metal band I was ever in. I had been hanging out with some friends all night, and we'd been drinking. And I woke up feeling super hungover, and we had to go play a show that day. So I went to the venue, and I'm feeling like total fucking ass, just hungover as shit, super nauseous. And we're on stage getting ready, and I'm like. And so I go to like one of the bartenders or whatever, and I'm like, bro, do you have like a bucket or a trash can or something? Because I'm super hungover and I don't want to vomit all over your stage if I need to vomit. And he was like, oh yeah, I got you, bro. I'll bring you a trash can. And I was like, all right, cool. So he brought a trash can, and I was like, all right, fucking sick. It's like sitting there right by the side of the stage. I'm like, cool, I'm all covered. And then like right before we start playing, like our singer is like introducing the first song. Somebody else who works at the venue comes by and sees the trash can and is like, what's this doing here? And like takes it away. And I was like, no, please. I need this. But we were already starting, so I had to just power through it. Fortunately, I didn't end up throwing up on stage.
It would have been very memorable, but yeah. So,
I've seen it happen, man.
By the way,
what was that?
I like your hat, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I thought it was fitting.
Yeah, we're all weirdos here.
Yeah. Lilith, now you've done some acting, or quite a bit of acting, I guess. Is that something you enjoy doing? You like to do more of? Or?
Yeah, actually, so for me, acting is also like being on stage. It's a place where I can perform and be really over the top and really deliver a lot of emotion, or just be dark and sinister and creepy. I always, I kind of try out for roles that are usually in the horror genre, because that's just kind of where I fit, right? Where my skills are at. So I love acting. I actually, I just read for a film that's casting in New England currently. So I'm not sure. I guess they had a lot of applicants. So I'm not really holding my breath on that one. But I'm hopefully going to be sort of a friend of mine out in Vegas knows a really good talent agent out there. So I'm hopefully going to be making connections with this person and getting back into acting a little bit, because one thing that New England definitely has going for it is they do have like a pretty decent kind of indie horror scene.
Yeah.
And that's something that Vegas does not have like whatsoever. The scenes in Vegas are kind of sparse, I guess, for lack of a better word. The music scene is kind of like that too. So since we relocated, it's been a little bit tricky to kind of navigate the same avenues that I was pursuing when I was living in New England full time. But I'm slowly kind of making my way back over there, and I hope that it works out, because I do miss acting a lot, and I've sort of had daydreams about just going more fully into that, and I think it would be really fun. But yeah, hopefully I'll get to be involved in some more projects soon before the end of the year.
Yeah, I know some from doing the show, some people who live in Vegas who work on independent films, but it's usually like they live in Vegas, but then they go to LA to do, to actually do the film.
Yeah, that's kind of, I was looking at stuff like that too. In LA, it's tough because everything's just so oversaturated. There's so much competition. So that's why I haven't really gone super hard with pursuing stuff in LA.
Yeah, most of the people I know, they kind of, I don't say cliques, but it's people that they like, and so they work together. So there's like little groups of people.
Yeah, that is something that I don't know if it's like that just kind of everywhere, but I do remember that about the New England acting scene. It's very, very cliquey. People, the producers.
Some of them will argue with each other, which I
there's a lot of drama involved. Several of the directors I've worked with in the past like no longer get along with each other. And so there's all these little factions and sides. I'm like, oh, look, I'm a free agent. I don't give a fuck about your drama. I just want to come fucking do this shit. So, but yeah, people do tend to just stick with their favorites. So, And it sucks.
It's
for
probably
other
some people. I know for a fact that some people we both know, but no, it's like people I met on the first set I was at. I wasn't in the mood, just on there, and then like a couple years later, they all hate each other, and I don't know, but
yep, 100%.
Yeah, and I shared because I used a picture of one of the for a banner for an interview, and then this other person was mad because like it's from their movie, but this person's in the. I was like, I don't understand why it matters, but I just thought it was good publicity for everybody involved.
Right, you don't like necessarily keep track of who hates who now,
I don't
stuff
know.
like that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you mentioned the video with the black sand. Any plans for any new music videos coming up?
Yeah, we've been talking about the idea of putting something new together. It has been a while. We're sort of like kicking around ideas for if we want to do it with any of the kind of older songs, or we want to wait until we have some new stuff together. Like there's pros and cons to each situation, because obviously if we're going to make a music video for a new song, we have to wait until it's written, recorded, mastered, produced, and all of that, and that could take a while. We don't like to rush things. We like things to be right and before we put them out, not have to go back and like tweak anything, or be like, oh, when we go back and listen to it, we don't want to hear any like, oh, I wish I'd just done that a little different, or oh, I wish the mixing was better there. We want to make sure we're happy with it. So I've always kind of toyed with the idea of making a music video for our song Divine Submission, which is a kinky fetish song, and I think it would be definitely like pretty marketable, but I would need it to kind of do it the way I'm thinking of. Like we would need a probably decent sized budget for it. So I don't know. In the meantime though, because we know we haven't released any video stuff or anything really much at all since we moved, but we did put a live recording up from Lucky 13 actually on our last little winter tour there, of the Children of Bodom song Hate Me. And we're big Children of Bodom fans, and we've been wanting to do a tribute to Alexi for a long time. And so it just so happened that we had a couple people in the audience for that show that brought cameras and stuff. So we grabbed their footage, and Kadin did the video editing for it, put it together really nicely, and we released that just about a month ago. So
yeah,
feel free to check it out. Check it out on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I did. I'll link it on the website so people can check it out.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we've gotten some really good feedback and responses about it, so that makes us happy. When the fans of the original music like it, we take that as a good compliment. So we're happy that other people enjoyed it, but at the same time, we were gonna do it regardless whether anyone fucking liked it or not, because it was something that we wanted to do. So
honestly, I think that's the best
like
advice.
Yeah.
For anything, if you enjoy whatever you're doing, you're gonna like doing it, and then it's just a benefit, a bonus if people also like.
Precisely.
Absolutely. I strongly believe that if you're an artist, you really have to be creating for yourself first. It's like you're gonna end up
or you just be very bitter, I think.
Yeah, you're gonna end up disappointed and bitter and stressed out if you're creating with the intent of trying to please your audience. You got to make shit that you're interested in making before anything else.
And where can people find all this? I think you can just put in SORROWSEED, and you're probably going to find it.
If you just put in sorrowseed.com, that links to all of our socials. We are on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. If you'd like to support the band, you can go to Bandcamp. It is sorrowseed.bandcamp.com. That's also just linked from sorrowseed.com. We have a mailing list on there where we announce our tours and show dates and anything new happening. So that's kind of the portal. Just go to sorrowseed.com. And yeah, we have merch for sale. We got t-shirts and copies of all 3 of our albums and some other fun stuff. So come and check it out. And if you're into it and you want to support, Bandcamp's a great way to do it. Periodically, Bandcamp also does what they call Bandcamp Fridays, where they waive the service fee for artists, and we get 100% of
sweet.
whatever is spent. So those
Yeah.
are good times to watch out for us or any other bands that you're trying to support. Bandcamp Friday. Go on a little shopping spree.
Yeah,
And-
if you're trying to support an independent band and they're on Bandcamp, that's where you should go, because Bandcamp, without question, always gives the artist the highest percentage of whatever you spend.
Well, that's
so
good to
that's
know
the best
then.
place.
Very cool. All right. Well,
And,
this has been very... Go on, sorry.
I was just gonna say that, like, we, on a couple of places, our username is not always just like @SorrowSeed. Sometimes it's like SorrowSeed Official or whatever. But like, we're fortunate enough to have a fairly unique band name. So if you just look up SorrowSeed, we're pretty easy to find everywhere.
Yeah. Usually when I start even asking people where can they find you, it's almost like you can just Google them and you're gonna find everybody.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to metal bands, every once in a while you come across a name that's like, Eternal Death. It's like, okay, man, no one's ever gonna fucking find your shit on Google. Like, good luck. But SorrowSeed is a fairly
that's a good little advice
name
for anybody out there. Think of an original, not just original name, but something that's gonna be
easy to
unique
find
to
in
you.
Google. Yeah.
Yeah, Smokey agrees. I heard Smokey.
Yeah, I think she's hungry now. She's starting to make noise.
Oh,
Right. It's perfect time, and it's been a really fun time talking to both of you.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having us. We had a great time.
Yeah, and come back anytime when you got something new coming out. We'll do it, or send me some info, and I'll post it somewhere. But it'd be cool, when
cool.
get the new music out. We'll
absolutely,
yeah, dude, love to come back whenever. It was a lot
and
of fun.
hopefully we can get everybody at that time. We'll all be in the same
my other
place.
2 co-hosts couldn't be here either, so everyone will be here next time.
Okay, yeah. Ideally, at that point, we'll have a full lineup and everybody can talk.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds
Yay! Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Neil. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Looking forward to chatting again soon.
Definitely. Now this
Thanks,
is gonna be a little confusing because SorrowSeed was the music of the month in May. And so right now it's Timothy Fife. So I'm actually going to play a song from Timothy Fife, even though we just interviewed SorrowSeed. So that's very odd. They're very different music. But you can all the shows you listened to last month had all kinds of SorrowSeed tracks on them.
Hell yeah!
All right, so I'm going to play that here as soon as I find
Thanks, man.
Right.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks so much. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening and watching.
Yeah.